welcome back to another screencast by Teach Me to Code. I'm Eric Berry. I'm going to be continuing our Twitter clone by working on our Flitter application, and let's go ahead and get started. Now, the first thing that you can do is you can download the source code itself to start right where I'm at right now. So if you go to github.com/cavneb, then you'll see that you can access the Flitter application. Go ahead and clone that, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm starting just from scratch like you are. So let's go into Flitter. Let's do our rake db migrate, and let's go ahead and rake db seed so that we can generate all of our test data. Now that we have that in place, let's go ahead and give it a shot and see if it works. Honestly, I haven't looked at this app for a month now, so I've been doing a lot of other stuff. So I'm not certain if this is going to work completely right off the bat or not, but we're going to go ahead and do our best to make it happen. So username and password. Let's create an account. So let's use my old faithful testing information. Okay, now we're logged in. It says welcome Cavneb, and if I remember right, I believe that's where we left off last time. So our goal here is to let's see here. We'll go to Twitter. Let me log in real quick. And our goal here is to is to create a Twitter clone. Oops. To create a Twitter clone, and so far what we have is we have a pretty solid back end, but no real solid front end. So right now we're going to go ahead and work on the front end a little bit and get that thing up to par. So let's see here. Once again, I'm kind of going off the cuff, and alright, so let's open this up in TextMate, and let's see where we're at as far as our views go. So we have our welcome controller inside the welcome controller. So that's what shows up, what should show up prior, the home controller. Let me actually get my bearings here. Let's see here. There we go. So it's actually the home controller, which is where we're being sent to. So this must be the home controller. So let's check out our routes file. And yes, the root folder is the home controller. So that being the case, this is what we want to start working with. So first things first, let's add the option or the ability to add our own flits here. So we're going to go ahead and create a form. And actually, let me kind of think this through first. On our home controller, we're going to want to be able to create a form, and in that form we want to create new flits for ourselves. So yeah, let's start off with creating a form, form 4, and we're going to say flit.new, and that will use our RESTful flits controller, which we don't have yet, but we'll go ahead and set that up. So form 4 flit.new do f, and so we're gonna do we're gonna use a text area, and I believe it is message is what we called it. It is, so it's message, and then we'll go ahead and add a submit tag in there. So this will break right now. If we refresh it, it should break. Here, I gotta start it first for it to break. So it does break because that path doesn't exist. So let's go ahead and create a Flitter controller. So we're going to generate controller flits. And the only real things we need in here, we don't need an index, we don't need a new or an edit. So really all we need to do is do a create and then do a destroy. Those are the only two that we're going to care about for right now. So because we do require a user to be logged in at this time, we're going to add this there as well to make sure that we aren't just coming here directly. So alright, on the create, we're going to do we're going to create a flit equals flitter.new params and then message. Actually, that's not going to work, so why don't we, alright, again, it's early in the morning and I know I had to get this done, so bear with me on this one. So what we need to do is use our current logged in user. So our current user, based on if we go to our application, wait, where is it? In our lib, we have our authentication, we have our current user right here. So let's go ahead and say current user dot flits dot build. Actually, we can even do flits dot create. And then all we need to do is pass in the message, which would be message right there. So that in itself should create the Flitter message. But because I want to have a little bit more validation in place, or at least error checking, I'm going to do a build instead. And what this will do is create it, but it won't save it. So I'm going to say flit equals that, and then just let's go ahead and, for fun, let's render out the flit.inspect, or actually flit.valid, and that should return true if this is going to work. So start our server again, and the flits path doesn't exist. Let's make sure that it does. So to do that, you just mapped out resources flits, and I believe that there is a way that you can limit the actions within there, but it doesn't really matter, meaning that we don't have to include the index and the show and the new and edit. Alright, so here we go. We do have something now that we'll post over there, and so this is a test. Go ahead and post. You see it is false. So let's find out why it's false. Let's look at our model and our flit here. It requires a user ID and a message. Now on a flit, when you do current user.flits.build, it should pre-assign the user ID. So instead of doing this, why don't we go ahead and type inspect, and then we'll refresh it, and it'll show us what is actually in that object. So you see it has a user ID, the message is not being passed in. So there must be a problem there. And here's the problem right here, is that we have the message coming in not as message but as flit message. So why don't we go ahead and instead we're going to do this, and that will build it up and populate that message field. Let's refresh this. Go ahead and view source. Now it does have the user ID, it does have the message, so let's go ahead and if flit.save else and so if the flit does save, then we're going to say okay, we'll add a, actually let's see what Twitter does. Alright, so let's see here, working on the next installment of the Twitter clone. Rails application. Okay, so it really doesn't do anything. All it does is just pop it on the top there. So good enough. We don't need a flash message. Let's go ahead and we will just redirect to root path. Okay, and if it doesn't save, then we want to raise an error. So actually, for right now, instead of doing it this way, let's do it this way, where we put a bang at the end, and then that way, if it doesn't save, it will throw an exception, and we'll handle that later. So there we go. If we come back over here and let's refresh this. This is my first flit message. Hit post. Oh, there we go. Created at can't be blank. So why is it not populating that? I don't know. Let me. You know, I'm not exactly sure. Perhaps, and I'm not. This is just a guess. Maybe it, because we're passing in the flit, it might be overwriting the created at, but I really doubt that. So here, let's try this again. Hit refresh. No, that's not it. Flits controller 6. That's the, interesting. All right. Well, I don't know what's going on there, but we'll figure it out later. That equals time.now. All right. If you want it, there you go. So let's go ahead and resend that. Okay, sent. So now that we have that working, although this is a hack, let's go ahead and add the list of flits here so that we can see what's going on. So I'm going to put this in a unordered list, and let's do current user.flits.each, and we'll iterate through those, and we'll just start off with this. And of course, we want to make sure that it doesn't show anything that we don't want it to, so we want to make sure that we don't do any code injection or script injection or anything like that. So for example, script alert hi. If that's my thing, it won't show that. However, if I was to take that out and refresh, there we go. It does actually call the script. So we want to make sure that that H is in there. Very important. All right. So these are our flits here. Now, because we want to see them in reverse order, we're going to do reverse. And there we go. So far you have a very, very, very ugly version of Twitter. This is another test. Let's go ahead and post that in. So you see it is working. It does do what it's supposed to do so far. Very boring, very useless at this point. So let's go ahead and I want to log in as another user who has a bunch of friends right now. So let's go ahead and view our users list and grab one. Let's say user.first, and then the username is Peyton Killback. So Peyton Killback is their password is test, because that's what we set it to before. I just want to see if I've created a logout mechanism here. We did. So let's go ahead and log out. For right now, we're just going to use the direct link. Alright, so Peyton Killback and test. Alright, so here we go. Now Peyton already has a bunch of flits himself, and he is able to post, so this is yet another post. Alright, this is awesome. Alright, so, but we know on Twitter, the home page doesn't just show yours, it shows all of your friends. So let's make some changes to let that happen. So display flits equal, let's just call it flits equals, and what we want to do is we want to get all flits that are ours and our friends in chronological order, newest to oldest, and we're going to paginate those. So before we paginate, we'll deal with that in a little bit, but for right now, let's figure out how we're going to pull those. So let's see if we have anything in place so far. So I don't see anything yet that we have, so we're going to go ahead and get the all flits. We're going to create a method called all flits, and in this we're going to get all flits that belong to us and friends. So we're going to do flit.find, and we're going to pass in a condition user ID in, and then right here what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the friends user IDs, and to do that we're going to map it out, and I think what I can do is just that, which will return the ID. And for me to test that, let me go ahead and do that in the console just to make sure. So u equals user.first, u dot, there we go. So yes, it does do that. It will return just the ID. It's a little shortcut. Instead of having to iterate, or instead of having to do the that, I think it's just a shortcut for that. So anyway, so now we have that, and we want to push onto the end our ID, so self.id. So let's go ahead and try that again. U, and we're going to do u.id. So there we go. We have all of our user IDs that we wanted to use there. So we have that. So let's go ahead and just order by created at descending, and there we go. That actually should return them. Now down the road we're probably going to want to set up some type of caching here, because this is going to be probably the most called function or most called method out there for this application. So let's give this a try again, and alright, so flits equals current user dot all flits, and then we'll go to the view down to our home view, and instead of this we're going to just do that. So if we refresh, okay, we got a much bigger list. We don't know who's who yet, but at least we've got a bigger list. So let's go ahead and clean this up a little bit. Now we're going to get into my design side, where I did work on design. I did do graphic design for a few years, so I do have a passion for CSS and for HTML development, and actually making sites usable and look good. So hopefully I can teach you something that maybe you don't know, and if you have anything to add, please by all means let me know. So alright, so we're going to first create a let's look how Twitter does it. Okay, so Twitter has the icon, and then they have the name, the thing, and then that. Okay, and we'll worry about that later. Okay, so right now let's just work on our list item first. So we're going to call this flits list, and let's take that out. Let's go to our application.css. Alright, and we'll come in right about here. So alright, so that is our UL. So we want to have it margin 0, padding 0. And now we want to, let's make the LI look a little bit nicer. So first thing we want to do is get rid of the dot in front of it. So to do that, you do list style none. After that, we want to, let's look here. Let's set the padding on the top and the bottom to be, looks like it's about 10 pixels. So 10 pixels on the top and the bottom. Right and left don't look like they have any, so that's what we'll do there. Set margin to 0. Let's see here. Let's set the border bottom to, let's find out what color this is. Now there's a program called Color Schemer, which is an awesome program. It's Color Schemer Studio, and I always use this to grab colors. So there we go. We have our border color there, and so let's go back to our thing, back to our style sheet, and then we'll do 1px dashed, and then let's set our background color. Actually, our background color is white, so let's set our background color to white. And now we also want to have a hover color, and we're going to set our background color there to, and I don't know what it is yet, but let's find out. Looks like we have to do something here. Alright, so let's actually, I guess what I can do is just grab a quick screenshot of that, and that's on Apple, it's Command-Shift-4, and then I bring up that image, and here we go. It doesn't look like that was darker though. Command-Shift-4, let's try that again. There we go, that one looks right. Okay, so now let's just grab the color out of that, and that is F7, F7 as well. So maybe I grabbed it wrong on here. No, looks like what it did was it darkened both. So this is the color that we want. Let's go back over here. On the hover, we want the F7, 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 and border color we want to be there. Oh, it looks like it was the same. Okay, great. So now if we come back here to our thing, you see there we go. Very nice, looking a lot better. Okay, so already we're feeling good. Now notice the very top one here, we don't have anything, so let's go ahead and add a first. This is what I normally do. If I have a list that I want to make the style on the very first one different than the rest, I add a first, and then on our list page, let's see here, on our list page right here we have if flits.first equals flit, then we put class equals first. So you'll notice that by doing this, it says, okay, well, as you iterate through these, if the very first one is, if this is the very first one, add this additional class on top of it. There we go, we have that. So we're looking a lot better already. Okay, so now that we have that, what else do we have on here? We have our icon. And because I'm not going to worry about showing you how to create a an icon and upload avatars and all that stuff, we're going to go ahead and use our Gravatar. So when using Gravatars, and I don't know if we have that plugin installed, it looks like I don't, we're going to go ahead and use a Gravatar plugin. So let's go to, actually let's go here from GitHub, and let's look for Gravatar. And I can't remember which one I used, but this one looks like it's the most popular, so we'll use this one. Is Gravtastic. Wonderful. Alright, so we're grabbing Chris Lloyd's Gravtastic gem. Let's go ahead and install that. In fact, before we do that, let's just do this instead. Let's go into our config, environments. Let's add our gem here, Gravtastic, and rake gems install. And there we go, it's installing. Okay, so let's start up the server again. Now, right here, he says that we need to go to our user class and add the isGravtastic. Sorry for the scrolling here. My other mouse broke, so you're stuck with the loud, annoying one. All right, user isGravtastic. Alrighty, it really is Gravtastic. That's wonderful. So all we have to do now, it looks like, is put this so we want the flit user, so flit.user.gravatar URL. Let's go ahead and refresh that. There we go. So we have the Gravatar URLs for all of those. These users, of course, don't exist. However, just to show you that it does work, let me put in my here, let's do this. We'll do user.last, which I believe is the one I added with my email address. There we go. A whole bunch of max characters. So, all right, it does work. Now, in the other Gravatar plugin that I used, it allowed me to set the size. So let's see if that works here as well. Yes, it looks like all we have to do is set up a configuration in the user model. So let's go, and then we're going to say the size is, and again, to get this little thing, I always use this. It is Command Shift 4. As long as you hit Escape before letting go, then it will not save. So right here, I see it's about 50-50. So I hit Escape, and now it doesn't save anything. But now I know that our size we want is 50 pixels. So something didn't work. Let's give that another shot and see what's going on. There we go. So we have our 50 pixel image here, 50 by 50. So we're set. Let's close that. All right, so let's go back to Twitter and find out a little bit more on what we need to do. Okay, so we have our image. Now what we need to do is add this stuff. So let's why don't we set up a bit more CSS. We want the image to float to the left, and I've got too many files open here. Alright, so right here we have our image. We want it to float to the left, so I'm going to control that in our style sheet. So we have our flits li, and I want the image to float left. So I just say for every image, float left. And there we go. Now it's not going to work too well yet, but it will shortly. And I believe if we do this, it will clean it up. Well, it kind of cleans it up. Normally what I do is I have a dot clear style, and right at the very end I include that div, class equals clear. So by doing so, it does clear it up so everything works. That clear basically says, okay, all my floats, just ignore what I had before. So we have our image, so we're going to add another one saying class equals flit message container, and so we have our flit, and let's go ahead and add a flit.user.username. So if we hit refresh, there we go, we know who said them. So we see it's not always Peyton Killback. We have a bunch of friends who are posting messages as well. So back on our style sheet, now we have our image with the float left. We want to add this container in there as well to float left. So we want to have that float left. We want the left margin to be probably 10 pixels. Let's go ahead and see what they use. Looks like it's roughly 10 pixels. Margin left to be 10 pixels, and let's see how that looks. There we go, a little bit better. Now what we want to do is add a link to this Flitter user. So you see right here, you hover over this, it'll take you to that person. So let's go ahead and add that link. So link to, and then that Flitter user person is, I don't know if I have this set up yet. Let me look. We have home. No, we don't. So we don't have anything there yet. So for right now, let's just leave it blank, just for style reasons. So, well, and you see we have that. So let's remove that. There we go. Now we have a link. So now that we have that, we want to make it look a little better like our Twitter here. So let's change our styles. One thing you can do, and I do this a lot with Firefox. And here, let me bring up Firefox. Okay, with a little bit of cutting magic, now we're here. You see that we have our Twitter account here, and we have the styles along here. So, okay, there we go. So what we can do is there is a plugin for Firefox called Web Toolkit, I believe. I believe it's Web Toolkit. Anyway, I'll link it in the show notes, but you can go to CSS, and let's make sure that this is visible. You go to CSS, and then you can view style information. And from that, you can actually pick any item that you want to view the style of. So first thing we want to look at is this. And you'll notice that that doesn't really have anything. Maybe this has more information. Has a background color. Doesn't really have any of that either. Well, the only thing we can really get from this is the color of the link. So we'll go ahead and copy that. And they have text decoration is none. So let's do this. Flits list LIA, and actually we want to go as far as in this container A. We're going to do color. Oops, color is 2276 BB. There we go. And text decoration is none. Okay, so there we have that. Let's come back over here. Maybe we can look on a broader view to see if we can get that. No, but here we go. Now if we go all the way outside and view the outer level, you'll see that we do have more information. So their font family is Lucida Grand. So let's change our font family here. And their font size is 0.75 EM, and color right there. There we go. So that in itself should make us look quite a bit more like it. So that in itself should make it look quite a bit more like it. So there we go. Okay. Let's refresh, and it does. So you can see that our text looks a lot more like Twitter's does, and our link colors are the same. So let's go ahead and add in here a let's add in here I want to make the links bold as well. So here, let's font weight bold. Okay, there we go. So, and there we go. Okay, so we're moving right along. So now what we need to do is we need to have a date. This part right here we need to add 4 minutes ago from wherever. I'm not going to worry about the from wherever, but I am going to do the time ago. And so go back to our page here, and we have our Flitter container. Now right below that we want to have our flit. Let's see how they do it over here if the message is really short. It looks like they push it down. So instead of creating a new one there, I'm going to do another div inside of the container saying this is going to be our time ago. I'm just making it up as we go, so there we go. So let's just put in some dummy data first and say 4 minutes ago. So we'll refresh this. So you see it puts it right below there, 4 minutes ago. Now we want our style from this as well. So it looks to me like they've changed the font size to be a little bit smaller. So let's say flits list li div dot flit message container, and then div dot time ago. There we go. And we're going to change our color to color will be 9C 9C 9C, and our font size is going to be, let's try 90%, and let's do padding top is 3 pixels, something like that, just to give it a little bit more space. So there we go. So you see it looks a lot like it. We're doing good so far. Okay, so now that that's done, I want to set this up more in a style that we're going to use. So first things first, let's clean this up as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and clean this up as well. So we go back to our form, and in this form, let me look. How are we going to do this? Okay. First thing I want to do is let's find out how big this thing is. So it's 521 by 44, and you're going to notice that that's exactly how wide our list is as well. So 521 wide. So we're going to go to our flits list, and width 521 pixels. So refresh that. Now you see we actually have the same size as the other one. Okay, so now let's go up to our, let's do this, new flit form. That's going to be our form. That's going to be a wrapper around our form. We're going to say the width is 521 pixels, and let's go ahead and put a wrapper around here. Actually, because I've known that form tags do kind of screw things up in some browsers, we want to put these dashes at the beginning and ending, because that will basically make it inline. But also I want my form tag outside of my div. So let's go ahead and create that form, create the form div here, and then that way we can control all our style within here. So There we go. So now that we have this, because we have inputs directly within there, we can say text area, and our width is going to be 521, and our height, I can't remember what the height was, so the height was 44. So let's do height 44. Let's see how that looks. Okay, hey, we're getting even better. So now that we're there, it looks a little different. So let's take out our welcome text, and we're going to use our "What are you doing?" So we'll put that right inside here. We'll put that in like a H3 tag, so we have our H3 tag. Let's do this. Flit form. And now we have new flit form, H3. Here's where we want to change it. So just by looking at that, I know that our text, or our font width, our font weight is normal. I know that that's actually all I know so far. So let's go ahead and refresh this. What are you doing? Looks like the size is a lot bigger, so let's put font size 130%. Normally I use numbers like pixels and or pixel measurements or stuff like that. Now the reason that you want to use the percentages is you're going to notice that we're using 0.075 EM. That sets a base, and that base, from there you can actually use percentages to modify it. So as long as you have a base, that's 150% of the 0.75 EM. So there are guides out there on how you can do that, but for this, I just trust me, it works. So set the margin and padding, and there we go. What are you doing? It looks like our padding below is a little bit more, so we're going to do 5px. So hit refresh here. There we go. And if you're wondering what this is for CSS, if you have 4 that you want to set, it always goes top, right, bottom, left. So it makes it goes around it. So that's why I say top is 0px, right is 0px, bottom is 5 pixels, and left is 0. So that's how that works. Okay. So now that we have that, I don't know how to get rid of this thing where it's not resizable. So for me to be able to figure that out, I'm going to have to bring up my Firefox again. Okay, so I bring up the Firefox again. There we go. So for this, I have to log in, and when I log in, I get the hold on, let me go home. Okay, here we go. So if I log in, this is, I want to figure out how they did it to where it doesn't show the resizing. So I don't know if there's something in here. I mean, there might not be anything at all. Font stretch, font size. You know, if any of you know how to do that, please post a comment and let me know how to do that, because I think that would be very valuable information. So let's go ahead and shrink that for now. So for right now, we'll just go ahead and live with it. So you see right here we have, on the left side we have our latest post, on the right side we have our button. So let's go ahead and add those. So we go back to our index page. Here's our message, and then right below our message we want to have two we're going to have two things. So first thing we're going to have is our ID equals latest message, and then on the right side we're going to have submit button container. Alright, so we have that. Let's add our latest message here. So to do that, we're just going to set a quick little dummy text. If you hear the dog, sorry about that. Set a quick little dummy text so we can have some stuff to work with. And right here, we're going to just set a button, or just a text for a button there. So let's go ahead, go into here, new flit form, and then latest message. And we want to have, looks like the text is similar to this right here, but maybe just a little bit darker. So let's use the same text that we have on that, which is right here. The same style that we have on that. Sorry, it's actually really difficult to program and talk at the same time. So if I'm not making a lot of sense, it's because I'm thinking, and when I make sense, it's because I'm not thinking. So what do you do? So here we're going to change that to a little different color, and we want this to float left. And because when we float, we need to add a class to clear it out, a style to clear it out. So there we go. We hit that. There we go. We have some text on our left side. Now the reason that this is showing up below here is because it's we don't have that floating yet, and plus this we don't have a max size on. So let's go ahead and set the maximum width of this to, looks like let's do 360. Okay, so we're going to say width is 360 pixels. Okay, so there we go, and we're looking a little better. Now we want to add our submit button container style. So new flit form, and then let's have this one be a float right, and we're going to set our width here as well to roughly let's say 160. Okay, so there we go. And the last thing I want to do is set a text align. Okay, so we have our text align right, and let's move our submit button to its new home right there, and there we go. We want to, looks like we want to modify the margins here, so let's go ahead and add a quick margin below our actually we want it to be a margin below the whole form. So let's do this. Let's go back to our flip form and margin bottom 15 pixels. Let's see how that looks. Let's make it 25. There we go. Okay, looks good. So as you can see, we're moving right along. Let's make sure that this one shows our very last post. So to do that, let's add a why don't we do it this way? Why don't we add a named scope into our flit model and say last message. Actually, you know what? We don't even need to do that. That's already set up. So here, let's go into our home controller. Let's do last flit equals current user dot flits dot last. That'll return the very last one, and we'll go from there. So let's go into here again, and here we want to show our very last flit message, and of course we want that on there, and there we go. This is yet another post. So, and they have this right here, so let's add that and add a little strong tag around it. Refresh, refresh, there we go, and then we just want our time. So we want to add the time to all of these, and the way we do that, Rails has a really cool method of getting the time since, or the time from, and I'm going to have to search for it because I can't remember. Rails display time from, and I can't remember. I was using it yesterday. Rails date time. Here, let's go ahead and check this one and see if, there we go. So it's a date helper in Rails and distance and time of words to now. That's what we want. So distance and time of words to now. That's a built-in helper that we have in Rails. Let's go down here and use it here first. So we're going to add the flit.created at, and so let's go ahead and refresh our view, and it looks like that didn't work at all. I wonder, now that I know that didn't work, that tells me that probably our created ats on all of them aren't working. So flit.first, no, flit.last. We have our created at. And let me do the, oh, duh. Alright, well, that, I guess we do have to print it out. So there we go. About 7 hours, 37 minutes, and all we need to do is tag on a go at the end. There we go, 37 minutes ago, about 7 hours ago, all of these about 7 hours ago. Okay, so there we go. And so we're going to go ahead and use this as well up here. And just paste that right there. We're going to do last flit created at. This is yet another post 37 minutes ago, and I think that's how Twitter does it. So there we go. The last thing I'm going to cover on this screencast is this button here. And actually, maybe I'll cover this as well, just because that's so much fun. But this button, if we want to use the button, we're going to go back to our tools here, and there's another tool that you can use with the web toolkit that you can install. And in fact, let me make sure I know what it's called. Web Developer Toolkit. So yeah, so if you view images and view image information, you can go through here and you can see all of the images that are used on that page. You're going to notice right here we have our round button. So let's go ahead, and I don't condone this because you know, it's stealing stuff, but just for this example we're going to do this. So let's go into our I'm just showing you under my blouse right here, aren't I? Alright, let's go to our lessons folder. I've got a lot of stuff, don't worry about it. Public images, and this is our first image, so round button. And now that we have that round button, let's view the style of that button. So here's our button, and it has all this. Let's see here. Now I don't see a lot of information on it, so I'm just going to wing it. So we're going to say our, well, let's see if this is a, yeah, this is definitely a CSS button. So let's go back to our stuff and see if we can make that happen. So here you see we have a submit button and post. Their text they have is update. So I want to do update, and let's go ahead and try and see if we can make this look good. Okay, so we have new flit form input dot submit. So just so we know that it is a actually we're going to call it button, input dot button, and we're going to add a class on the end of this saying class is button. That way we can reuse this later. In fact, instead of doing it in the form, let's make it more global by doing it like this. So that way we can say any input with the button name, we'll use this. So alright, first thing we want to do is set our background image to that new button. So let's look at this button here. I'm going to have to bring it up in. I'm going to have to bring it. Don't record this part. Let's see here. Lessons, Flitter, public, images, button. Okay, here we go. So we have our button here, and you can see that the name is round button, and it's 115 by 32. So we're going to need to know all that information. So let's go back to our button here, and here's our image. I'm going to say width is 115 pixels, height is 32 pixels, border is none, background is the background URL is images, round button. We're going to say top, left, no repeat. Alright, so that should give us something that we can look at so far. So let's refresh. There we go. We're almost there, actually. Oops. We're almost there. What we need to do is make the text look a little bit better. So to do that, we want to change our font size. So font size is 120%. And let's say our color is 666, which is not only the sign of the devil, but also a very nice gray. So there we go. Now the only other thing I could see is that we probably need a little bit of padding on top. So to do that, I want to add it in here, padding top 3 pixels, and you can see that's why it looked funny, because the other one had padding and this one didn't. So there we go. That looks good. Now when they click on it, looks like the image goes away. Well, no, it looks like, what do they do? Yeah, I'm not going to worry about that. So for right now we have that. Okay. And the last thing I want to cover, actually, you know what? That's going to have it. That's going to do it for today. I'm going to worry about the countdown a little later. But for right now, that's what we're going to cover today. So there you go. I hope that this has whet your appetite a little bit for more screencasts from teachmetocode.com. And I'm very happy that recently the guys over at Rails NV, I'm sorry, not Rails NV, NV Labs have covered the our website, and I'm very thankful to all the people that have submitted screencasts and comments and suggestions on what we can do. So let's definitely keep this going. I'll have this. I'll try and make sure that I get the end of this one done as soon as possible. So thank you very much. Have a great day.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good, though.
It could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
It was pretty terrible.
It was bad.
It was awful.
It was terrible.
Get him away!
Hey, boo!
Boo!